Hey guys, it's Mike with another NFT Guardians video. We've got a spotlight video today on Atticus. He is a Cinder Agility Imperial Ranger, and he's a legendary character. I was hoping to pull one where he was just 5 stars so that I could, you know, kind of keep all this consistent. But I think I'm going to do a little gear adjustment for the added stats of him being Enlightened one level. He's also Radiance 1 level. So he does have a little bit of a stat boost, but we did get his power right at 600, which is on the lower side of our goal. We haven't been able to hit that with every character, but I don't know when I'm going to pull him, so we're just going to go with this guy and see how it goes. So currently, as far as gear is concerned, I do not have him with any crossbow or any extra accessory. I just have him in a tier 6 set. He is using HP boots. Technically, he is a ranger, and he's a back row damage dealer, so he'd probably benefit from having attack boots if you had them. I'm still working on that, so we're rolling with what we got. We have one piece of gear that matches his affinity with some crit rating on it, which is going to be a benefit there, and then a pretty high level attack piece here with the weapon. No more crit rate, so that's going to be about the crit rating we get is a little extra 10% that we're getting right there, so that's pretty cool. Jumping into his skills real quick, let's take a look. His ultimate ability is an AoE attack. It's called Bombs Away. Atticus falls back and throws 5 bombs at random enemies, dealing 70% of attack as physical damage with each bomb. And we have that up to 90%. Now, obviously, it'll go up to 100. One thing about this skill is he does throw these bombs deep into the enemy's backfield. So if they do have assassins or tanks that have pressed forward, he often will throw these bombs over the target. So being by himself in this battle, we'll see that probably happen more often than not. But it is a very effective skill. If you keep your tanks up front and keep the enemy line strong, it will hit every enemy as long as they're not assassins. So that's kind of, it's a cool ability and it does a lot of damage. Smoke screen here is Atticus creates a smoke screen for 6 seconds around the closest frontline ally. All allied units within the smoke screen have their evasion increased by 50%. So he's going to help your tanks or warriors that are up in the front line increase their evasion so they dodge some of that incoming damage. So that's a pretty cool kind of almost support ability there. So his crowd control ability is landmine. At the start of the battle, Atticus throws mines behind all enemies. When a mine is triggered, it explodes, dealing 300% of attack as physical damage and stunning for 3 seconds. And then that damage goes up. We're at 340 when we're on level 100. The one thing with this is these mines do go behind the enemy and they need to get knocked back into the mine or travel into the mine before it will detonate. So if you do this with an AoE knockback such as Inara or Telva with her knockback ability, somebody that's actually knocking the characters back into these mines, they can do a lot of damage for you, but they are rarely used. So Gambit is his passive. Basic attacks deal 130% of attack as physical damage and have a 5% chance of causing knockback. So with this, 1 out of 20 basic attacks he does will knock a character back probably into that landmine. But 1 out of 20 is probably not enough for those landmines to be effective. So it ideally would pair him with somebody else that is doing knockback, and ideally an AoE knockback such as Inara would be a good kind of sidekick to Atticus. So those are his abilities. Let's go ahead and bring him into the Great Forge, into our standard level that we attack, and see how we get on. Alright, so we are on to that first room in the Great Forge. We are Ascender, so we're going to be neutral affinity with the enemies here, and we're going to go ahead and move him to the back. Not that it matters, but that's typically where he would be. I'm not sure if he will actually provide the smoke screen or not, because he does it to the front line and he's the only person on the team. So we'll see how that goes, but we're going to get him started up here. And those are the mines. All the enemies are back here, so without knockback, nobody's going to hit those mines. You can see his AoE ability overshoots the enemies completely. But if you did have a tank up here holding the enemy line back there, those bombs would have hit them. And then those bombs have area damage, so I think you could hit multiple enemies with each of those bombs. So even though it only does 100% of damage when it's fully leveled up, it might do 500% damage hitting them 5 times. So that's something that does work out. We're going to take less damage from burning, and we're going to avoid the stun. And this is magic damage, and he's all physical damage, so it shouldn't affect him too bad here. He basically had to basic. He had to basic through that entire battle because his AoE ability just overshot. Now these guys back here are going to get hit with that AoE because they're ranger enemies. So he's going to go through, get to his AoE attack and throw, and he probably will kill those guys. Oh, almost one hit. So he got one of them down. But he's still plugging away. He's not taking a lot of damage here. Alright, so we are going into that boss fight here. We did kind of luck out with no stuns, so that'll work out in our favor. I think this kind of showcases his ability to take out rangers in the back. I think in the arena he is pretty effective against Durizdas and things of that nature. When you have 5 enemies charging at you, though, it's not going to be his particular cup of tea. So he's going to probably struggle here. He's going to overthrow all those bombs, missing everybody. And hopefully he can inch his way through these guys. Although he's taking some stuns, he's taking some damage. It's getting real close. I don't think he's going to make it. So, yeah. so that's a little rough. It surprises me he did not make it. But that being said, his AoE is really his claim to fame, and he's missing almost every enemy. I think only 2 of the enemies in the entire, all 3 waves were getting hit by his AoE ability. But again, if you did have tank and warrior up in the front row, such as a Tuskrog, they're going to keep that enemy line back where it was, and his AoE attack will hit everybody, and he will do some damage. And you can build him for straight damage because he is in the back row. So he can do a lot of work for you. Alright, so if we take a look at Atticus out here in the Token Trove, his market value has come down a little bit since I was selling him. He's at $11.23. If we take a peek at it, he's actually on the uprise. So he had a pretty big dip, and now he's kind of climbing back up a little bit. There's several for him at sale right around that $11.23, $11.30. Although after those 4, it jumps right up to $15. So I think his value is probably higher than that. It's just 4 people are pretty eager to offload their Atticuses. So once they sell through those guys, they're probably going to jump right back up to $15 or so. But that kind of shows you the volatility in the market and just day by day what's going on. And it really comes down to what's available and who is looking for them. So it looks like there's 19 of these guys for sale right now, and there's 373 in the game that are registered as 5-star with no radiance levels. So it kind of shows you, I mean, there's actually quite a few Atticuses in the game, and then there's even more because these are just the NFTs. So these are just the folks that have upgraded them and applied Ascension seals to those Atticuses. There are going to be probably thousands more in the game that do not have Ascension seals on them. So the rarity of Atticus is not really there, although based on my polls lately, he seems to be really rare. But that's just a little bit of misfortune. And that's the puppy again. So out of the core champs, I think Atticus is probably one of the better legendaries in the game. However, he can be replaced by a good warrior or a second tank system. And I think of the 2 of them, Atticus versus Durizda, both being rangers, I have a video on that. I do think Durizda does a little more work. So I think you could run them alongside each other, but if you're only going to do one, I would personally lean towards Durizda, especially if you have her crossbow with the 30% crit rate. On the free-to-play account, we've actually got along without him using Palmera instead, and I think that team is probably as effective, if not potentially more effective, and I really would like to see if we get Atticus, if he does improve that team. So we're going to keep on with that free-to-play account and see if we can pick him up so we can compare and contrast. They have a summoning event when you first start the game that after you pull a certain amount of summoning stones, you're guaranteed either Atticus or Thorit. Of the 2 of them, I definitely hope for Atticus. I think he's going to do better for your account and get some damage early and help you clear those waves. But that's about what I got for you on Atticus. I hope you appreciate it. I hope you found some value in that, and I look forward to seeing you next time.